Three. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the next episode of That's Connector Musings. And if it's the first time you see it, That's Connector, it's me, Michael Zoric. I'm producer, promoter, presenter of arts and culture in Philadelphia area. And during my travels and my work and which is my passion, I meet a lot of interesting people. And those people present a lot of interesting ideas and interesting sides of their character that are not maybe obvious to those who just experience them as artists. That's why I decided to start this podcast, That's Connector Musings. If you're curious about where That's Connector came from, I suggest you listen to the second episode of my podcast on this channel. Sure enough, since you're here, I know you're already probably tired to listen to all this, but just like, subscribe, share, and make sure that people know. I guarantee you, I have very, very interesting guests. And one of them is here with me tonight. Please meet Greg Farnese, singer. I knew him as a singer first. He told me he was a TV guy, operator, producer, sound. Greg, remind me please, in what quality you were on TV?
First of all, I got to say I'm very honored to be considered one of the interesting people to talk to on a Wednesday night. So I want to thank you, Mikkel, for inviting me on to the program. It's great to see you. I know we've been having a rough time the last year or so. So one of the nice things about the kind of like the end of the pandemic is I'm able to kind of see the faces and people that I got a chance to know and meet before it. So it's good to see you. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, but that's why I told you an interesting person, because you are not one-dimensional. You're not just rather popular in Philadelphia singer of all these American classics, but you also and you also a TV specialist, and you are, at the last time I've heard, you made your first foray into the movies.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I do have my irons, in a lot of different fires. I've always kind of been built that way. And when I'm really passionate about something, I kind of go full force. But I've had experience, as a performer in front of the camera, and also transitioning to behind the camera with writing and producing, cinematography. I kind of get that from my father, kind of following my dad's footsteps. He was also a professional actor who moved behind the camera. But I do like to have my hands in a lot of endeavors, and writing is completely a different satisfaction as an artist than I get when I'm singing. It's a whole different feeling. It's a whole different feeling when I'm working as a cinematographer or cameraman, when I can compose a shot that I really like and I'm proud of. That feeling feels great, but it feels nothing like singing or writing. So, it's kind of cool to get, these different feelings and different passions. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do that and work with, surround myself with really talented people. But yeah, man, you're right, Mike. I there's a lot of different things I'm doing.
So you just love to experience life in its fullest and have different creative pleasures.
I try.
That's good.
I try.
Yeah, it's good. And again, one of the reasons I invited you to this podcast, that's when you told me that you are writing, or you wrote a movie about Mario Lanza.
Yes.
And for me, it's also part of my history here as a presenter. I started presenting in my current venue, major venue in Northeast Philadelphia, this big, one of the first concerts was a big program dedicated to Mario Lanza. It was in 2017, and we had three tenors from three different countries: a Georgian, an American, and a Cuban.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yes, it was a cool, but very cool part. And it was a smashing success. The guys were incredible. We had a full house, and during the preparation for this event, I spent a lot of time researching Mario Lanza live and meeting this. Actually, it was an incredible story, I can tell you.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it was an incredible story. I was advertised this event on Facebook, and all of a sudden, I got a phone call from an Armenian woman that I knew from like the time I came to America in 1993. She was our neighbor. She knew my family very, very well. She called me and told Mike, Misha, it's my professional name. I saw your advertisement for Mario Lanza concert, and you wouldn't believe that I have a connection with this family. She is actually a music teacher. Oh. It turns out that her daughter got married with Mario Lanza's nephew.
You're kidding me. Which one? Elise?
No, her daughter.
Her daughter. Oh, her daughter.
Yes.
Mario's daughter. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, and this way, through her, we were able to invite Mario Lanza grandniece to the performance. And she was like 9 years old, and she did like a little spiel during the concert. It was they had like vinyl records playing in a foyer before the event. So we had a lot of interesting conversation. But here's another coincidence. Right after I actually agreed, I decided to talk to you. I found out that the guy who helped me who was actually initiator of this program, a Georgian man by the name David, he actually moved to Philadelphia after this concert.
Oh,
He opened one concert venue in Southampton, and now he's actually building another one. And I just saw him yesterday. He's like all in construction, trying to build a concert hall in Tacony neighborhood, out of all places. So, but enough. I just wanted to give a little.
No. I do know we talked briefly on the phone, and we talked about your love and passion for Mario Lanza and the work that you did to pay tribute to him. I thought it was incredible, and I'm sorry I missed that in 2017. But my love for Mario, or my knowledge of Mario, to be perfectly honest, as of maybe I think the last year and a half it took me to finish the screenplay, I really only knew Mario Lanza by that big mural on Broad Street, and didn't really know much about him. I knew he was a great singer from Philadelphia, but I didn't know his life story. And then one day, a producer friend of mine watched a documentary on PBS, with Placido Domingo, about Mario Lanza. And he said, you know what, Greg, I think you should watch this documentary I watched the other night. It's on a PBS station here in Philadelphia, Channel 12, HYY, because I think you might find it interesting. So I took him up on it, and I watched it, and I couldn't believe his life. I couldn't believe the conflicts that he was confronted with, and all the different issues that he had as a person, with his weight and his inability to take academia and schooling seriously, and went just on his raw talent. to be the greatest tenor since Enrico Caruso. People were paying money and grooming this man who turned his back on all of that to grab the golden ring of Hollywood to do a 7-picture deal with Louis Mayer and never looked back and never had the career he had. So I watched it and I just thought it was real compelling. I was really taken aback by all the different obstacles and things that he had to go through, aside from the fact that he died at 38 years old, which is incredibly young, right? So I started researching his life and I started, reading every biography book about him and, watching all of his movies and listening to every little soundbite I could possibly get of him being interviewed. And I was, as screenwriting was my major in college, so I have the ability to write scripts and think I'm pretty good at it. I'm fairly good at it and I really love it. So I started writing an outline, and the outline became the first draft of the screenplay, which was 239 pages, which is way too long for a screenplay. So I whittled that down to, second draft. And then I finally got down to the third draft. And, I truly believe that I have a biopic, a screenplay about an incredible life and about an incredible talent that unfortunately fell short. One of the greatest singers of all time from our great city of Philadelphia. I mean, through the research, Mikhail, I couldn't believe some of the quotes from some great singers. I mean, Frank Sinatra, when he heard him sing for the very first time, said that his voice put a hole right through him. It was that powerful. I mean, that's Frank Sinatra saying that. And, it's just a really tragic and sad story that I'm very proud of. So as a screenwriter, I finished the third draft. So now my next step is to get this screenplay into the hands of a producer, director, actor who shares the same passion I have to tell this incredible story.
Okay, so at this point, you are at the stage where you need to sell your screenplay.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how the process works. I mean, it's a biopic. It's a period piece. It's not a cheap motion picture. It's an expensive film. Any historical film is very expensive to recreate that era. But, off the record, I do have some really good feelers out there right now. And I'm in discussions with some people about possibly producing it. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to mention that.
Right now. I understand, sure.
But I'm very passionate to get this story to the screen because I want people, aside from you and I, we know all about Mario Lanza, but I want people who don't know about him to learn about him, like I did driving down Broad Street, seeing that mural. Like, oh, there's Mario Lanza. I didn't know anything about him. And I think this motion picture will enlighten a lot of people about the incredible.
Most likely what would happen, because I've seen during our short, months-long promotional campaign, I had a lot of interesting meetings and talks with people, and I got involved in touch with Italian community. I know at this time, Museum of Mario Lanza was almost closed, but
it reopened. Did you know that?
Yes, I know. I just read it yesterday, actually.
You got to go by there, Mikhail. I was there about a month and a half ago. Bill Ronier, I think I'm pronouncing his last name properly, is the president of the museum. And I went to go visit because I was actually being interviewed for another telecast about Mario Lanza and about the screenplay. I was blown away by the artifacts in this museum. It was really impressive. I spent like an hour there looking at all different artifacts and stories and recordings. It's really well done. And the other cool thing is all of the money that's made for that museum goes to help other singers, through scholarships to pursue their singing aspirations, which I think Mario Lanza would think that'd be really cool. So I highly recommend going there. Sure.
And it's not a paid, I just want to make a disclaimer, it's not a paid promotion.
Oh yeah, for the Mario Lanza Museum. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
I mean, I was just there, so it's fresh.
Right, right.
If you want to learn about Mario Lanza, it's a great place to
It's the best kind of recommendation when it's comes from the heart and from the passion. So tell me, Greg, how the research that you put into Mario Lanza life influenced your singing?
That's a great question. I think it really helped me to trust my instincts, trust my God-given ability to sing. And I don't think singers shouldn't sing. I mean, I think singing is as important as any musician, any musical instrument. It is an instrument. You need to learn and study and find what technique works best for you. But I think a lot of times musicians get caught up in academics. They get caught up in studying and learning from a classroom in college or high school. And that's great, but there's something about having the ability and the talent and the trust in what you're doing and actually going out in front of an audience and actually doing it to learn a lot about music. You know, music is and you know this better than anyone, it's a doable art. It's something that you do. And you can spend hours and hours reading every book about singing. But unless you get up there and actually do it, you're really never going to learn. And that was kind of Mario Lanza. Mario had a really difficult time with solfeggio and learning the scales and studying the music. And he never read music. He just didn't feel it was necessary. And it kind of got him in some trouble. We went to Tanglewood when he was up there, when he got recognized and discovered by Kozaevsky, the wonderful composer from Russia, who came to the United States and played at the Academy of Music, Mario Lanza, with the help of Irene Williamson, who was kind of grooming him. I don't know if you know that story, but kind of like snuck him into the Academy of Music. And when the concert was over, cued him to start singing. Kozaevsky couldn't believe what he was hearing. And he kissed him and said, I've been waiting years and years for a voice like that. And he sent him up to Tanglewood to study with Leonard Bernstein. And, you know, it was a very prestigious music school. But Mario Lanza wasn't about that. You know, he was about just going out and singing raw. So I guess that's the long answer to your question. I think what I've learned is trust my instincts and my God-given ability and not be so cerebral with singing. I think I learned that through the research.
Okay. Yeah, I just noticed one thing recently. I encountered a nutrition organization on the West Coast. The name of them is Mosaic Musings. Musings. No, Musings. Mosaic Musings. So they just take the different type of arts, singing, music, painting, poetry, and those artists kind of working together, creating something new. And then they not just create this, but they also kind of start talking about what this music, what this painting means to them.
Oh, interesting.
But and there's a lot of young people. But what I noticed that just kind of correlated with what you just said, they concentrate a lot on technique.
Yes.
On technique, on this stroke, or this or this tertia, or this or that, and just in passing, like the guy created a piece based on a cult Russian movie Solaris by Alexei Tarkovsky, my favorite movie, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've seen it original probably 5 times in original language. That's why I couldn't watch the one with George Clooney. I'm sorry.
You couldn't.
No, I couldn't do it. But nevertheless, when he mentioned that it's based on Solaris, then okay, yeah, now it makes kind of sense. But if you would tell the story before you start diving into all these details, technical details, that 3/4 of your audience would not understand, it would be much better. And it brings me, again, that's why I always love to hear stories from people I talk to. What is your favorite story from your that you brought from your research on Mario Lanza?
Was my favorite story of the script that I wrote?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the story really is, I don't know if you're looking for a theme of the story. I mean, it's sort of like turning your back on a God-given talent to grab a golden ring for something that you're really was not meant to be on this earth for. But there's a lot of different lessons and stories in the script about Mario's shortcomings. One of them being his appearance. He was never really comfortable with his appearance. Mm-hmm. And back in those days, if you were an actor under contract for a studio, they owned you. They owned the material that you acted, how you looked, how you dressed. Mario decided that he would lose weight. Mario was 5'7". He was like 285, which is a big man. He was a huge guy and not very tall, but he was a good-looking man. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that Louis Mayer loved about him was his look. He was, Louis Mayer wanted to make Mario Lanza the singing Clark Gable. That's what he said.
Right.
But he didn't like his weight. So, Mario was constantly working with Terry Robinson, who was a MGM trainer who got really close with Mario. They became really good friends, almost family members. As a matter of fact, when Mario died, and then his wife, Betty, she committed suicide 3 months after Mario died.
Oh my God.
The kids had no family. So Terry Robinson, the trainer, took over for the family. He kind of adopted them. But anyway, he was not happy with the way he looked. So there was something called it was called a twilight sleep. It was called. It was a procedure that pregnant women did in their 30s and 40s who had mothers who had difficulties delivering babies. So what they would do is they would give you morphine and another drug.
Oh my God!
To put you to sleep. It would put you in a temporary coma while you deliver the baby. Well, there's a lot of actors in Hollywood who use that same technique to lose weight. So Mario Lanza would take this procedure and he'd be in a coma for days and days, not eating anything.
Wow!
And he would lose 30 pounds. He would look fantastic. He would go in front of the camera, and, he would sing all the music beforehand, when he was 285. He would go into the studio. They would record all the music. Then he would lose the weight, and then he would go in front of the camera and just lip sync the music that he recorded. And he looked fantastic. However, it's not really good for your health.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So he did that movie after movie, to lose weight. I thought that was fascinating, that he would go to that length to do that when, he could have been the greatest opera singer of all time. But he didn't go that direction. He wanted to be, a star, and he knew that he'd be able to reach millions and millions of people through motion pictures. Rather than at the Met or La Scala or any operatic stage. That was the selling point to him with Louis Mayer, because he was at a crossroad. He's like, well, Mr. Mayer, I really appreciate your opportunity to get this 7-picture deal for millions of dollars, but I have people back in Philadelphia that have been grooming me since I was 16 years old to be the next Caruso. And Mario and Louis Mayer said, well, you'll have plenty of time to do opera in between movies. Don't worry about it. False. He never had time to do anything after that. The studio owned him. Right. And Louis Mayer said to him, well, Mario, would you rather sing on a stage with 500 people in the audience? Or would you rather be in a motion picture where millions of people all over the world see you? So he chose the latter. and never looked back, unfortunately.
Yeah. We don't have, I'm sorry, we don't have too much time left, but I wanted to ask you a question that always bothers me a lot.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have an answer to this.
I hope I do. I don't want you to be bothered. I hope I have.
No. It's okay. Yeah, but it's the question is, why is that? Why is it when God gives people great talent, at the same time He gives them huge problems, psychological, family, character traits? You know, and a lot of them die really young.
That's a really good question. I mean, I think you could answer that about any great artist. You know, there's something that happens, using, the right part of your brain all the time is really not healthy. But it all depends on the personality too, Mikkel. I mean, there's artists that have been groomed since they were 16 who've been coddled and pampered and praised. And, that kind of feeds on somebody's ego to the point where maybe they have a difficult time, accepting who they are, or having them believe that they're as important as all the people around them are making you feel. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's like that inner conflict. It's like all these people are making all this big deal about me, and I'm just some guy, why are they making so there's like that whole inner conflict. It's just a crazy business. It's a great point. Why all of the great artists, for some reason or another, always have some kind of social issue or, problem,
Yeah, it's a price. It's a price you pay for being great. Okay. Okay. It was really a great conversation, and I hope we'll continue this. And I also have, I need to talk to you on a separate occasion on the phone about some ideas for your future scripts.
Well, you call me anytime, Mikkel. I always enjoy talking to you. I'm so glad that we
sounds good.
That we had a chance to meet, and thank you so much for having me on. I